前は一体何なんだ。おだちだ。What's going on YouTube? We're back with another Sinoalice video here on the channel, and I know it's late and releasing this like 2 days before the raid ends, but I wanted to do kind of an in-depth guide of how you guys go about summoning nightmares for this raid, what the strategy is for the raid, especially in the final the boss wave, and so on and so forth. So let's first go over why you should prioritize this raid heavily, especially to get your supports to get 20 clears on version 3. So you have the Ogre. Basically, he is going to be the replacement for Justice, and Spoot will be covering a video later this week showing off Boba's guild using this Ogre to completely decimate the opposing guild in a losing situation. Obviously, you have to be losing in life force in order to take advantage of it. But when you are, and it goes off from the tier 3 compared to the Justice tier 2, it is on Defiant Roar is absolutely bonkers. So at any rate, these are the stats you guys see here for the SS version. So we're going to scroll down to the L version. So, you know, if you do not get it fully limit broken, you're going to get 3,800 stats, which is pretty good. It is still obviously a lot lower than let's say, you know, your gacha nightmares are. Like the paid gachas go up to like 8k stats at 120. So obviously it being free to play is going to be a lot lower, but it having 120 seconds duration for Defiant Roar 3 massively increased the effect of attack skills for all frontline allies when at disadvantage when comboing. And the skill 2 is only greatly. So you go from a greatly multiplier to a massive multiplier, and you also get 120 seconds compared to 110 seconds, and your prep time goes from 70 seconds to 60 seconds. So it's just massive upgrades all around everything. And the reasoning why you typically want a support to have this in your guild package is because it does cost 200 SP. So with Vanguards, they tend to want to use nightmares that are 0 cost SP, which means it basically has to be a gacha or paid nightmare for them to use it. So you want to stick them more to like Carcanus or Wisp or CC or one of the elemental nightmares like Oogaloo, Freeze Golem, Lindworm. Units like that are more beneficial for your Vanguards. So that is the benefit of getting this raid done. Because it is a raid nightmare, you will need the core in order to evolve it. So you are going to have to get 20 clears. It is the only way currently to get this core to evolve it. In addition to that, you're also going to need 5 level 4 materials and 15 level 3 materials, which are a little bit easier now that we do get a couple of these a month just for doing regular Colosseum. But yeah, definitely if you guys have not been saving up charm medals for whichever person you're dedicating to try to get this nightmare with the 20 clears to get the core, make sure they start saving up some charm medals to buy the evolution materials as soon as possible. Now there is a chance we will be getting the nightmare packages coming back for the collab coming on Thursday. I think it's a pretty good possibility. I'm not going to say it's 100%, but generally from the JP server, they typically get those packs once a month. So we haven't had them yet, and what better way to save them for a collaboration. So we're going to go over the nightmare rotations first, and then I'm going to take some screenshots from my clear, and I'll show you guys kind of the process, and then I'll let the whole video play back in full. So first, what you want to do, you want to be summoning the bird here, which is going to greatly lower the attack, physical and magical, of all frontline enemies, including KO'd ones. You want to try to trigger this when it's basically going from the point of wave 4 into wave 5, where you want basically the boss to appear, do his little intro animation, and then have the bird proc. Now, you can figuratively just suck to be safe if you're like iffy on the timing and you're iffy about your DPS killing the mobs in enough time. You could technically summon this just at the start of wave 5, but you do lose a lot of time and more chance of you dying, and the fact that this can proc before he even does his first attack, if you time it correctly, from wave 4 into wave 5, that will help increase your survivability. But if you guys are a super powerful team, you may not need it in those early, like the first 30 seconds of the fight. So But those are your two options. You definitely want to be bringing Bird if possible. It is just a droppable nightmare. It's an A nightmare. You guys see here is the A version you get from story levels. So just have someone get that if possible. Typically you want this to be on a support character. Next is the next summon nightmare you guys are going to want to try to do if you can is going to be the one with lessened armor. So whether you have a Wisp from the paid gacha, or if you have Karkanos as well from I think it was the poacher banner. Yeah, from the poacher banner. He was there. So if you have either one of these, is fine. It's not even super necessary that it's L. Just having it even at SS rarity or SR rarity is fine. But this does help. It is not absolutely mandatory you have this summon, but it does help significantly for your survivability, for recovering SP, and prepping for your burst phase for this fight to have this. So if possible, this is a great nightmare to bring for this fight. The next nightmare is a necessity. You are going to have Victorious Melody 3. Now, if you do not have your CC from the paid nightmare, you actually have access to Hateful Hound of all three versions. You also have access to Rabbit. So the advantage of Rabbit, obviously, over Hateful Hound is that it's going to be Victorious Melody 3 as opposed to Victorious Melody 2. So Victorious Melody 2, you guys see up here, is going to greatly raise physical attack for all surviving allies at an 18% rate. Prep time is 20 seconds for story. Still prep time 20 seconds for story, but massively raise attack. So it's going to go a 5% increase from 2 to 3, which is a pretty big jump in your power. So this, you want to use third. That way, once you do that, you can get rid of some of your off-element grid, some of your non-fire weapons like your greens, your blues, to get down the boss as much DPS as you can. And we'll go into the life bar in a little bit of where you want to strive for, why you don't want to bring him to his second life bar before you go off with your next summon. So definitely Victorious Melody 3 is an absolute necessity. So if you don't have CC in your team, make sure you guys have Black Rabbit. This was a free-to-play nightmare from a past event, so hopefully someone in your team got that and saved it. Next, we are going to be going into the last of the mandatory nightmares, which is going to be either Oogaloo or it is going to be Fafnir. So if you don't have Oogaloo in your team, Fafnir was the last raid boss, so hopefully one of you has that. Even if it's only at the SR rarity, that's still fine. It's not going to be as good, but it still will be good. You know, you do get a massive increase in damage for having an L. So hopefully if you only have Fafnir, they at least have an L. It's not just the SR. It could make a pretty big difference in getting the clear. If you guys are kind of on that threshold of clearing it or not, it will give you a pretty big jump. So you see prep time is going to be for story is going to be 10 seconds and then 20 seconds for the duration at the SR version, and then for the legendary version 10, 20, same amount of time, but it is, like I said, going to be a massively increase the effectiveness of fire skills for all allies. So that is the last of like the necessities. So the necessity ones, to recap real quick, is going to be Bird, it is going to be CC, and it is going to be either Oogaloo or Fafnir. So, and obviously CC can be subbed out for Rabbit. That doesn't really matter. CC just going to get even more stats, but the ability is going to be the same. Fafnir is where it's going to be a little harder because you are going to need it evolved, and it is harder to get Fafnir evolved than Oogaloo because he does require that red core from the last raid. So finally moving on to the final optional nightmare. This will be the final nightmare you will summon. This is just kind of like if you guys had it, it's a good nightmare to throw in there. If you don't have this, you can do something like Ares just to get some more weapon cycling to save on your SP. But this is the best like 5th slot nightmare you guys could run, which is going to be Noin. I don't think there's another version of Noin because these are all for other elements. So she's a gacha only, so you technically can still get her. I think she's in the general pool now, but not completely sure on that. But she was on Raid Up a couple months ago when she first premiered. And she's basically going to give you wind-type enemies are going to massively take more fire damage. So once again, another priority for your fire weapon damages go. So that's where she's going to shine super well. Definitely though, if you have like anything else you can use, like you could even use like a Lindworm If you have to use like a freeze golem just to have those water weapons do some more damage, just anything at the end to help give you that push to beat the boss before time runs out and before 2 enemies die. Because once 2 enemies die, he will insta-kill an ally 1 by 1 in a pretty fast rate. It's definitely a lot faster rate than Fafnir did. So that's the thing to keep in mind. This is definitely a thing about a fight about conserving your SP, knowing when to attack, knowing what to have your nightmare rotation set at, and knowing how long you have to burst damage down the boss. So that's the nightmare stuff. So we're gonna hop into the gameplay replay, and I'll show you guys Alright guys, so here we are in the raid here. So we're here in wave 5. So first off, you're gonna have you're gonna have a ghost and 2 plants. So you want to try to kill the plants first if possible. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, I pretty much auto the first 3 waves, to be honest. But I mean, I'm 160k, 155k DPS, so it is a lot easier for me than maybe the typical average player. But I believe the plants are weaker to physical damage, so this is the point where you would want to use your swords and your hammers, things like that, if you're a DPS character. And as you go through here, you're basically just going to pick off the plants first, then you kill the ghost, then you're going to move on to the next wave. And then in wave 2, you have a hound, an orc, and a greater orc. For this, I would take the opportunity to use any of your water and wind weapons you can on the orcs and the hound on the orcs. Then you can save like your wind weapons for the hound and the greater orc. I think you actually want to leave the greater orc for last. This point, you also want to take a little bit of time to recover a little bit SP, because basically once you get to wave 4, you want to try to burst down wave 4 as much as you can, so the person summoning bird will feel a lot safer and just basically snap summoning bird, and then bird will carry over to the next wave. So that's what you guys want to do here, is just kind of take this one more slower, as long as you guys are comfortable not getting killed, things like that, and then you guys can take out these enemies here and then move on from there. So you guys do that, and like I said, I targeted the it looks like we targeted the water orc first, and I think here we saved the hound for last, I think. Oh no, actually we did save the orc for last. Just my camera angle for skipping was off. So you see there I'm at like 132 SP. I'm basically trying to recover SP, and I'll let this whole thing play through at the end for you guys so you guys can watch it full. But that's pretty much the premise of that, of wave 3. Then we go into wave 4, and like I said, so we're here, we're gonna D-attack there, and then we burst down there, and then bird, he yells out bird here, and that's when we kind of pause to wait for bird to go, and then we're at like 8 seconds here, and then bird is gonna proc right there, and it will be affected here for Ogre. So that's the big key, like we said, is timing it definitely so that you are going to get your bird proc on the Ogre before he starts attacking. But it's important that the bird doesn't proc either on the last wave or in transitioning before he shows up to where he can be targeted. So that's very, very important that you guys realize that, because if you do that, it could like screw up your whole run if it's timed incorrectly, if you guys end up getting killed. So then after that, we do our Blessed Armor 3 for Wisp, and you basically just kind of cycle out your weapons you have to bring him down. You basically want this life bar to be like close to here, if you guys can. You guys can see my cursor. Basically, you want the life bar to be like pretty close from the green, almost being gone, but not being gone completely from his first life bar, because if he does that, he's going to remove all your buffs. So your Blessed Armor, your CC buff, everything will get removed. So that's important to keep in mind. So then what you do is then after the Blessed Armor goes off, you CC. Once again, just kind of pinging him down slowly with kind of your non-fire weapons if possible, or cycling out lower rarity fire weapons for better fire weapons. Now, this boss is weak to magical damage and fire damage, so you want to be holding as much spears and bows as possible. So that is the important thing to keep in mind for this fight. So once you guys go through there, You guys basically can communicate in chat of how much SP you need, so recover as much SP as you need. The general consensus is that you want somewhere between 120 and up SP minimum before you go into the last wave. And then once that happens, like I said, I'm there at 160, then you wait for the person to summon your Oogaloo or your Fafnir. And then once that goes off, you just basically burst him down. You prep your weapons, you just go off, and you guys see, as long as you get down him to his last life bar before he has time to use his debuff, you're going to maintain all your buffs. You see all of our buffs are still all the way up, and we're super good there. And then after that, you just burst down, burst down, burst down. And then for this particular instance, I guess no one had Noin in our group, so we end up just using Ares to save on SP. And then you just burst it down like that, and there you go, you get it cleared. So that is how this whole fight works. I'm gonna leave at the end of this video for the full replay of the 5-minute video for you guys, so you guys can check it out. If this video was helpful to you guys, I apologize that it came so at the end. I just was really busy the last week, and I didn't really have the opportunity to find a group to really get a comprehensive guide of how to clear this. But hopefully when this reruns, this video, will be indexed for you guys, and you guys can fully take advantage of this video for the next time this is rerun. If you guys don't have enough time to get some runs in beforehand, but I hope at least you can get at least like one copy of this, nightmare, at least to have it for the future, and then you guys can get your cores and other materials later on down the road. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, guys, I really appreciate it. If you guys did enjoy today's content, make sure you guys drop a like down below. Hit subscribe if you guys are new, as always, and ring that bell for future notifications so you don't miss the next episode here of Sinoalice, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Have an awesome day, an awesome week. This may be the last video I record for the week. And Spoot will be here the rest of the week for you guys while I'm on vacation. Have an awesome day, guys, and we'll see you